Are data analyst certifications worth it, or are they just a waste of time and money? We're going to be covering that in this video. Hi, my name is Will, and if you're wondering why I'm credible, I worked as a digital marketing data analyst for the last 3 years, and before that, I worked in a digital marketing performance agency where I ran ads and SEO for 5 years. So I have a good amount of experience in this field, and I work as a very specific niche type of data analyst where it's not as programming heavy as a typical data analyst, but you do a lot of the same technologies and skill sets, and I'm more so kind of strategic, technical as well, but more strategic and consultative in my job at an agency. So essentially what we're going to be talking about here is whether these things are worth it. You know, there's obviously free ones you can get online where you go through a quiz and you go through a whole course offered by like Google and HubSpot. And then there are paid ones like Tableau and so forth, where it's more of a paid gig. And so we're going to go through it all and see if it's worth it. And then there's even others where there's organizations, independent companies that sell you these boot camps that last a few months or a few weeks, and then you go through the training and get a certification at the end. So I've seen it all. I've experienced it. I've taken many of these, and some of them I haven't taken, but I've gotten familiar with the company. So this is really the talk of the town. A lot of people are talking about whether it's worth it. So let's get into it. Are these things actually worth your effort, your money, your time? Now, I've broken this out into 3 sections. So let's get started with the first section. And I think by the end of this video, you really have a good grasp about which certifications or certificates are worth it for you. So first and foremost, you have the free certifications or relatively free, affordable certificates. An example, as mentioned, could be the Google Analytics for certification, which I've completed, where you go through an entire free course. For me, I didn't rush through it, so it took me a good deal of time, at least several hours of intense focus to get through the whole course. But I'm not typical. Most people would rush through it and just, do it. And then I've seen people, former coworkers, and this is just like the standard where anything that's free and just like you just take a public quiz at the end, they will just look up the answers online because there's usually some free website that gives you the answers. I try not to do this because I actually want to learn something, so I actually know how to use the tool afterwards. However, as you can probably guess, these are the type of certificates that I think are the least worthwhile. I mean, I think they may give you a very, very slight bump if some employer sees it on your resume, because it actually shows at least some level of effort compared to the person who wasn't even willing to go through several hours of a course and then take the certification. But it's not going to hold as much weight, even close to some of the other things I'm going to talk about. So sure, you can do it, but it's not going to make or break you. I think I actually learned a lot through that Google Analytics 4 course, and I didn't learn as much through the HubSpot courses and certifications. There's a lot of them. I just did them to do them. I wouldn't say anyone really, of all the job interviews I've had, really their eyes went big when they saw those types of certifications. But the one benefit is they will ask you about these tools and if you have experience. So they're not necessarily looking for a certification, but they want you to prove irrefutably that you actually know how to use these tools and you know how to use them well. And so a certificate is one of many ways to prove it. But typically, I think I got the impression that they're more impressed when I actually walk through a story or example of me using the tool in specific detail. And you get there more so from using the tool than a course, but the course really helps you because Google Analytics 4, for example, is very different from Universal Analytics. So the course really helped me understand all the different terms and how to basically use that platform. Number 2, the second category of certificates are the ones where you have to pay a pretty penny for. We're talking three figures, sometimes four figures, as in $300 or $1,000. The most recent one I took was the Tableau certification. Another big one is the Power BI certification. These are both big data visualization tools that people are constantly looking for you to have skill set and experience in if you want to like really make the big money in these types of jobs. And these are obviously going to be much more worth it for a variety of reasons. One is, as mentioned, a lot of people are looking for people who can actually hit the ground running and use these tools well. And that's a big thing that they screen for. And a lot of these employers, what they're really looking for is to sift through the people who are kind of lying and pretending that they know how to use these tools. But then when you hire them, they're a mess and they don't. And I think the big mistake people make is they're all about lying and trickery, when the better move is to actually get good at these tools so that you don't get fired even if you get the job offer once they find out you don't have the skills. So these are kind of more essential tools. I would say they're well worth it. And also, they're very hard to cheat on. They're almost impossible to cheat on. The reason is it's kind of like, there's multiple reasons. One, it's kind of like the MCAT, which is the medical school SAT exam, where the questions are so difficult and kind of hard that like you just have to know the answer. Like you don't even have time to look it up or figure it out because they're so intensive and there's so many of them. The exam itself was a few hours long. And then on top of that, the second thing is there's a variety of anti-cheating measures in place. The questions are proprietary, so you're not going to find the answers online. Second, they have a software you have to install that freezes out your entire computer when you take the exam, which means there's no checking of tabs or browsers or anything like that. And then third, they have a live video camera going at you at all times and a real human monitoring you. So while you're taking the exam, if they have you kind of look around the entire room so they know that there's nothing even close to you in your vicinity that you can touch. You can't check your phone or anything. And there's a real human monitoring you throughout this whole process. I got the impression it's like one dude monitoring like 100 at the same time, but still it's like I came in knowing like I don't want to cheat on this. I actually want to learn it. So the perks of like having a job already is that I was able to get the company to pay for the course I took for Tableau. And then I had a few months to study. I had to study on my free time outside of work. So there is a bit of hard work and initiative you have to put in. And then, of course, you pay for the exam. If you fail, you have to pay again to retake it. However, I came in really ready, prepared, and studied. And I worked really hard, and I'm very proud to say I passed the exam, and I think anyone can do it. I had no prior experience with Tableau. I unfortunately didn't have a client that I could practice the tool in with. However, just there's so much free material. They even give you a free version of Tableau online that you can play with a bit. And through that, I was able to understand the basics of fundamentals, and my company was able to pay for the larger certification. So how does that matter to you? I mean, the point is that these type of certifications are much more sought after in terms of the skill set because data viz tools like this are very big. So other than Power BI and Tableau, I would say there's probably a couple other big players, but those are really the big ones. There's also Looker Studio, which doesn't have a certification with it. And so if you have something that's really sought after, uncheatable, very thorough, intensive exam with a much more comprehensive, difficult skill set, that's going to be well worth it. So just keep that in mind. Those data viz tools are going to be worth it. And then the third category are kind of like a boot camp type of companies. So I was actually in Miami a while ago, and I was able to attend a couple networking sessions and free trainings at this one boot camp type of place. It's actually a physical location where people in Miami who have no experience or degree in various skill sets, including data science, UX design, app programming, kind of these like skills that you wanted, like you can get right into. Another one was digital marketing. They could essentially, pay four figures, anywhere from like $1,000 to $5,000 for a training program where they could come into this place and they get trained, taught these skills, and then after various weeks of this training program, they would come out of it, apply for jobs, and then hopefully get their first job as a, say, UX designer or digital marketing analyst or data analyst or digital marketing strategist. And I've heard mixed things about this. It really depends on the company. There's some companies I know more so in like the Washington, D.C. area where it just got too oversaturated, and most people came out of it with a UX design certification, but they couldn't get a job after it because there's just like too much supply, not enough demand, and therefore the companies were going to go with the ones with actual real-world experience in that skill set. So that's particularly the UX design, but depending on the path you take, let's say it's more digital marketing or data science or mobile app programming or something else, I've heard at least from the one in Miami that, a couple people got some really good jobs right after the boot camp, even though they had no experience before. I asked around, and I think at least two of them were very happy with the program. One dude, he was literally like an Uber driver before, and he was talking to me, and now he makes a pretty good living doing programming. And then there's another one who has a job at Niantic, which is a really awesome company because they made one of my favorite games of all time, Pokemon Go. I still play it to this day. I'm a huge Pokemon fan, and so she got that job, a really established job she's had for many years at Niantic, going through the same boot camp. So for me, at that point in my life, I was not looking to join that program because I was not someone who was per se started from scratch anymore. And arguably, could you learn some of that on your own with free content, maybe some more affordable Udemy classes? Yes, but it won't be as tailored and packaged and specific with a community built in and a blueprint for you to basically start applying and get a job after it. So, that's kind of the trade-off between these courses and then doing it yourself. And I guess that leads to the kind of bonus section 4, which is those kind of do-it-yourself Udemy online courses that are kind of more courses than certifications, because the certificate you might get at the end is basically from a brand or personality or influencer that no one really recognizes. Like an example would be SQL. So SQL is a programming language that is sought after, Python as well, but more so SQL, as some big things that a data analyst typically would be preferred to have, even if it's just at a beginner level. And Udemy and all these other platforms have, even YouTube, they have free or very affordable, like $30 to $50 courses on SQL from A to Z. Now, will employer care at all if you got a SQL Udemy course from Bob, Joe? No. Like I said before, they're going to really care more that you have the skills than you got a certificate from someone they don't recognize. So they're probably going to run exercises, questions on the spot to have you answer and problem solve to see if you actually know SQL. That's more important than the certificate. Still, a great way to get trained on SQL is through these affordable courses. So not necessarily something you put on your resume, but something you would express that you have SQL knowledge. Not that you have the certificate, but that you have SQL knowledge. So that's about it. If you like this type of video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Join my email newsletter for free exclusive tips to become a data analyst.